Hello, Star Wars fans. Welcome to another episode of the Starlight Podcast. We have our star-studded crew as per usual. Jonathan Bates, aka Daddy Sheev, and
What's
we've
up?
got everyone's favorite lore master, Lord Dagovere.
Ooh, Lore Master. That's a topic in itself. I actually do not like that title. I think it's very
Oh,
conceited. Yes. I like to see myself as an enthusiast because nobody is a master.
I love that a lot, actually. I love that a lot. Now we're no longer lore masters, we are lore enthusiasts.
Yes, absolutely. Because we can always learn. Always.
Yes, always learning. I love that. Okay, cool. That's a good way to start. We're some enthusiasts with Star Wars. We're some enthusiasts with the lore, and we're gonna talk about some lore here. But as always, we're gonna start with some Star Wars news. Ahsoka season 2 wrapped filming this week. What do we think about that?
I'm excited. I'm really excited. Oh yeah, look at Dagovere. He's ready. Dude, you already knew what we were talking about.
I
Side note,
just
where'd you get that? That's actually fire.
Heroes Villains, probably one of the best Star Wars sites that you can get. Fantastic store, amazing catalog, and when you wash the certs, they do not wrinkle.
That's big time.
Yeah,
Gonna have to look into that.
yeah.
But yeah, I'm pretty excited about the show, guys. I mean, I'm looking here at Shin Hati's actress posting on Instagram where she says, and I quote, "A whole lifetime lived. Thank you for being a home to us these past 7 months. Heart X at Star Wars at Ahsoka official at Pinewood Studios." So I'm assuming that's where they shot everything.
Interesting.
And yes, 7 months of filming. So I'm not sure usually what the turnover is, but I know this show has a show have an official release date next year yet. Like, is that official?
I'm assuming it's going to be the final quarter
Final.
of
Okay,
of
we don't actually know yet.
2026.
Okay,
Yeah,
but the fact they just finished filming now and that gives it sounds like that gives them plenty of time to edit and put things together. And I'm grinning because I'm excited. I'm thinking of all the things that we could see, we could get in the new season, and I'm all for it.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, you guys know that my favorite series is Ahsoka series, but I understand like how terrible a lot of the choreograph is in that. Although none of it is with that Anakin Skywalker episode, baby, because that is just peak, and that's actually probably why I love the Ahsoka series. But even with all those flaws, even with all those issues, I am still immensely excited for Ahsoka the White coming out of Lord of the Rings lore. Oh my gosh, am I gonna see Balin again? Am I gonna see Shin? You know it, man. I'm freaking ready to go, man. I'm ready. Where is it? Oh, and the soundtrack. Don't even get me started, okay?
All right, we're back.
What the hell was I saying?
Yeah, what the fuck were you talking about? Sorry,
You were talking about the soundtrack. You were talking about enthusiasts, Star Wars enthusiasts,
I'll
and you were
just chop
talking
it
about
up.
the Ahsoka story and the lore.
Hmm. Yeah, it ended on a really cool point
Yes.
with that being the Mortis gods and Balin standing on a statue of the father. So the more lore that we get into that, because that's one of the most interesting parts of Star Wars to me is that arc in particular, because I have no idea what the hell is going on with it. So if we're gonna get more into that, we're gonna get more into kind of like the cosmic ethereal force with Ahsoka because she does have the spirit of the daughter inside of her, and also, like you said, she's Ahsoka the White now. She has almost ascended into another level of the Force. I'm all about that, and maybe we get some more Force ghosts. Maybe we get some not gray Jedi, but some different forms of Force users, which we'll talk about a little bit later in the podcast. But that to me screams excitement.
Mhm.
And I hope it's some more stuff with Thrawn. Like we're gonna get deeper into this Mandoverse. We're gonna get deeper into adding other parts of other projects. Maybe some references to this, some references to that. I wonder if it's gonna tie in any with like the Mandalorian and Grogu because that's the next project that's slated for Star Wars. So there's a ton that kind of plays into this series now that we're kind of going into this Filoniverse, and I'm super excited.
Yeah,
Um,
can't wait.
Damn. So I have a couple little like insights and questions.
yeah.
I'm not trying to get anybody fired, but I know specifically how Thrawn is in the expanded universe, and I think everybody else knows. And I think there's a lot of people that love that character have a hard time adjusting to live action Thrawn when it comes to his motivations, when it comes to his, it's just like, he is actually like dead ass like evil for evil's sake in live action. But when you read the books, it's very different. He has this whole counter motivation when it comes to the Chiss ascendancy and trying to build the empire to help the Chiss ascendancy. So it's very interesting how that dual phase character works. And we know that it's been confirmed several times that Timothy Zahn is not helping out in any way, shape, or form when it comes to live action because Lucasfilm does not want his help. And he himself has said that. So for me, I do want to see some more depth to Thrawn, even though he's a fantastic character. I want to see this whole different take on the Chiss ascendancy because, Star Wars fans that only watch movies don't know about that. They just see a blue guy that's evil. And where's this guy during the entire original trilogy? Nobody really knows when you're only watching the movies. Exactly. Yeah. So it's going to be really interesting if they dip into that at all, or if he's just going to be a guy that is trying to rebuild the empire and gets assassinated by his own people, So I don't know what's going to happen there, but I need to see that or version of that.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
agree.
think I,
You got it, bud.
I don't think that they're gonna touch the Chiss ascendancy. I don't think that
It might be too
it makes
complex.
sense. It's too late, honestly. It's too
That
late
too,
to
they
touch the
haven't like
Chiss.
ever talked about it at all
No.
in any forms of media. And part of that could be because he originally showed up in Rebels, which is inherently a kids show. I feel like if they brought in the Chiss Ascendancy, that's a little more complex. Maybe that fits the tone of Ahsoka, but at this point, it's probably I need to rebuild the Empire. New Republic, go bye bye is probably what we're gonna get.
You know, One thing I love about Ahsoka is a lot of people knock the world building, but I think the world building is actually exactly what you need for the Star Wars universe, especially going forward, because we see Peridia and what's outside the galaxy far, far away. The only time we really see that in the Star Wars movies is Camino, because you have the Rishi Maze, and that's kind of it's not necessarily on the same plane of the Star Wars galaxy. You literally have to go outside or above the Star Wars galaxy to get where you need to go in that area, which I think is also really interesting because when you see Kenobi build that up with Yoda, and he's like, yeah, the planet should be like right here. So that's like the first time you really get to see, like, from an in-universe standpoint, outside of Empire Strikes Back, what's happening inside the galaxy. Now, I don't have a problem, or I don't see it as unrealistic if Thrawn is sitting there and he's like, well, my people knew about Peridia before, because he is from outside of the known galaxy, and Peridia is also outside the known galaxy. And it's almost as if they're building up to something much grander than just the Star Wars galaxy.
I would love that. I think the further that we expand, the better,
Yes.
because Ahsoka inherently is going to be tied to Anakin Skywalker, the Skywalker legacy,
Yes.
but she's not really like we don't know her story. We don't know how it ends. So at some point, she's gonna have to break away from all of this. I don't think she'll be involved with Luke's Jedi Academy. It doesn't really make that much sense. She may even go off and form some sort of her own idea of a Jedi or what a Jedi
I
should
think she
be.
dies. That's a hot take. I don't know if that's what you guys think. I think she might like either die in the show or like maybe she becomes a Mortis god, low key.
I hope she doesn't die.
Yeah, I know a lot of people have wanted her dead for a long time, and I understand
Well,
the
not that I
whole,
want her dead,
yeah.
but
No, I'm
she
not
has the
speaking.
daughter's like spirit in her, so I feel like if she dies, like
Yes.
she ain't dying. Maybe she becomes some kind of like force god, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because and if anyone's seen the Mortis arc, which I think is a very important arc for anybody to see, because that was one of George's babies and a very interesting part of the XO whatever that he was introducing to Star Wars, which is very different from the movies. Uh, you know, Ahsoka dies, and then the spirit of the daughter is basically allowing her to be resurrected. So that's really interesting. Is that going to have some type of value later? I assume so, because just like I talked about Peridia, they did introduce the Mortis overlords at the end there, where you see the father, son, and the daughter's statue is destroyed. Of course, Morai is always following Ahsoka, and for people that have watched Star Wars Rebels, we know that Morai is kind of the representation of the daughter's spirit as well. So yeah, I could absolutely see that as a plausible theory, but her dying, I don't think is going to happen, because I think she's even more important than she's ever been to the plot of where this story is going. And since it introduced Thrawn, since it introduced Mortis, which is a whole spiritual complex layer of Star Wars, I think that it's possible she could be going in another galaxy somewhere else.
Yeah, to me, it makes sense that she is removed from the timeline or like
Mm-hmm.
this galaxy because she is going to, kind of have her own paths. And it doesn't make sense for her to be here during that time of the New Republic and all of these different things because she's nowhere to be seen with Luke's Jedi Academy. She's nowhere to be seen guiding Luke at all. I think if Ahsoka was there, she would help guide Luke past whatever happened with Kylo and whatever happened with Snoke. But she's not there. She's somewhere else. To me, it makes more sense that she's alive. Um, it does make sense, Johnny, what you were saying, kind of as like almost like the moon spirit in Avatar, where Yue sacrifices herself
Yeah.
to save the moon. But I hope it doesn't go there because I want to keep seeing Ahsoka because Ahsoka is one of my favorite characters in Star Wars.
Oh,
Yeah.
Ahsoka's one of my favorite too. I'm just thinking like kind of like the end game. Like, well, first of all, too, like how are they getting off? How are they getting off of that planet? They're just kind of hanging out right now. You know, like we got Ezra home, but Ezra gets there and he's like, yeah, hey Hera, so yeah, Ahsoka and Sabine are trapped on this unknown region planet. We have to go get them.
They're going right back. They're
We
going
gotta go.
right
I
back.
gotta go back again and get lost. But yeah, I'm just thinking like with the grander lore of Star Wars, with them introducing these really cool concepts into live action of Mortis, the Mortis gods, unknown regions. Like I don't know, I just the end game for Ahsoka for me, like maybe she doesn't die in this series, but I feel like maybe eventually, like because I agree with your points, like she could potentially set up and still be a part of the Mandoverse and other new Star Wars projects. But I feel like at some point, like she's never really gonna be dead. I feel like because she has the daughter spirit, she will be involved in somewhat of the greater mysteries of the Force. So
Yes. Yes, I think that's actually very realistic. I've actually just put a link into our Discord because when The Rise of Skywalker had come out, Rey is hearing everybody's voices, and at that moment, everybody's like, "What the hell? Ahsoka's dead? That's kind of crazy. What the flip?" And then Dave Filoni on his own personal Twitter decides to upload this photo, and it's with Gandalf, and he says, and the photo says Gandalf is speaking to Ahsoka, and it says, "They thought I was dead too once." And I've always thought that's interesting because that to me signified that her story is going in a different direction. She's alive at this time. And when you really think about it, she doesn't really know Luke. It's not Anakin, that's that, father son, whatever relationship, the mentor student is not there. But I can see something happening where they end up crossing paths again. And then, hey man, that's cool that you're doing this Jedi thing, but my journey is this way with my Padawan and my master, and also maybe my also adopted tutor Shin that I also now have to teach because she's kind of just been left behind. But anyway, I think there's a lot of stuff that you could do with Ahsoka, and I think eventually she will become more important over time because she's also like a very important character for people that grew up with her. You could say that she's arguably like the daughter of Anakin, and I
yeah,
think that's a very good way to look at it too, because she grew up in Clone Wars in 2008. Like this is a generational character, and all these other generational characters are dead, So I think it's important at the very least, while yes, she should have died and probably should have died many times over. But right now, let's not do something in the wrong time. That's the right move. So I
Yeah.
think that we should see where this is going, see where Sabine's character arc was going, or at the very least what Ahsoka is going to do later on, because that is what I'm excited for the most. Because yes, if we are introducing the Mortis gods, what else are we introducing?
Yeah,
True.
I think
And oh, you got it, Connor.
though I think that going off that like the Luke stuff, she isn't even really like a Jedi. She was never back into the Order. Everything kind of went to chaos at that point.
Gray
So
Jedi.
it's
No.
she's not like loyal to the Order at all. So it makes complete sense how she's just like, yeah, like
She's more of a Force being than a Jedi.
yeah, Luke's like, oh my God, I'm gonna bring back the Jedi Order. And she's like, cool,
Have
dude,
fun
I'm
with that,
gonna head
bud.
over here. I'm gonna head over here. So that to me does make a lot of sense. Go ahead, Johnny.
I was just gonna say something that came to my mind as we were talking about Ahsoka is it brings me back to George. George wanted to kill Ahsoka in Clone Wars, and Filoni was the one that was trying to think of ways not to kill her. I remember watching, I can't remember if it was a webisode or some kind of interview that I watched where Filoni was talking about in season 5 of Clone Wars, okay, how, like, where's Ahsoka's story end? And George was the one, like, yeah, like, kill her. So, and then Filoni was like, no, I'll just have her leave the order. So, that's kind of a fun way that they ended up doing it because now we have the Ahsoka show. She's been in Rebels, and she's a big like character in Star Wars. And I remember seeing the 2008 movie when it came out. I was a little youngin'. And Ahsoka was not the most popular character, but my goodness, has she grown on the fan base, and I think is a great character for Star Wars.
Yeah, I really love that character. And I will tell you right now, bro, I did not give a shit about that character. I did not care about Ahsoka. I did not care about Clone Wars. I did not like the Clone Wars, because I thought it just looked. Yeah, I just could not deal with it.
How dare you?
Someone. Yeah, I know. Crucify me. But someone that grew up with like Toonami and that was watching Dragon Ball Z and Pokemon, and so when I watched the CG stuff, I don't know. It didn't feel like Star Wars. But
Yeah,
as I grew older and I wasn't such a punk ass, then I started to really appreciate those things and different stories and tones and mediums. But when I saw Ahsoka in Star Wars Rebels, that was a character that I really could get behind. Yeah, I really appreciated her struggle. I finally understood what it all meant, and I saw the vision. And it's funny because Connor, you also said this is like in this moment in time, a lot of people don't think that she is a Jedi, and I would argue, or I would agree with you. Yes, up until the Ahsoka series, I think that her becoming Ahsoka the White is more so of her getting back in the groove of being a Jedi. And this is the okay. I am a Jedi. That's her moment of being a Jedi. I think, yes, possibly she could be something more because at the end of the day, she is Anakin's apprentice. So there are many things and many routes that she could be in tune to, that she could evolve into. And I would love to see her story go beyond that. But yes, is this a pathway where maybe, like so many other characters that we talk about, like F, maybe she goes into another galaxy and does her own version of what she feels should be the guardians of peace and justice.
Yeah. I'm curious to see if we're gonna get more, if we're gonna get a conversation
Yeah.
with a Force Ghost Anakin, or
probably.
I mean, it would have to be Anakin. Really, it makes no sense for
Well,
anybody
what
else.
about
I mean,
Obi-Wan?
Both of them. Both of them. I
yeah,
don't know why that didn't happen last time. I
Where's
like it's
General
it,
Kenobi? Where's my
you know,
guy?
yeah, okay. The thing is too, I know a lot of people argue about the whole like it's fan service. No, it's not fan service. This is shit that has needed to happen since the sequel trilogy, in my opinion. Because this is a character that has also been around since 2008. So arguably, in my eyes, this character has more, I guess you could say right. I don't like saying right, but this character has more legitimacy of being involved with these stories going forward than an original character, a new character. So I feel like at the very least, yes, this is how she started because it's not just Anakin, it's also the legacy, or what people say, the tragedy legacy family tree, which is also Obi-Wan Kenobi. Because in Clone Wars, that is also somewhat of her master too. So I don't see the issue of the fan service. This is something that is moving Ahsoka's story, which is also moving Sabine's story and potentially Shin's. So this is something that needs to happen, and they all need to be introduced to.
Yeah, Dagovere, that's a good point. In Clone Wars, Obi-Wan does refer to Ahsoka as our Padawan. If you guys remember the Onderon arc at the end, at the funeral, he says that verbatim. Um, So it makes sense to me. I agree with you, Dagovere, that he should make an appearance. And he was on Mortis before. Like he was in the trenches with Ahsoka and Anakin when they were there in Clone Wars. So if they can
Oh,
make it work now, I understand sometimes, and I feel the fan base sometimes when certain characters make appearances, like, oh, it's just fan service. As long as they make it make sense that he pulls up, I'm all for it. Give me
yeah.
Ewan McGregor part. I'm ready for him. I need him back.
Does do these characters forget everything that happens in Mortis, right?
Yes, they do. They
Everyone's
don't
mind is
remember
wiped.
anything.
Wait, they
Yes.
did?
They
They,
I thought it
yes,
everybody's
was just
everybody.
everybody's
Anakin.
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah. No. Everybody,
Everybody.
nobody has any idea. Even Ahsoka, which is also crazy because she's got
Right.
Morai following her.
No,
You
she
know,
she calls. She knows who Morai is.
No, she
she may
basically
know who Morai is, but she does not know what happened on Mortis.
When did their mind wait when did this happen?
At the very end of the episode, I think it's the second or third episode. I think Mortis is a 2 episode arc or 3 episode arc.
It's a three
At the
episode
end,
arc.
yeah, at the end
Yeah, they wake up
where
on
they
the ship.
first initially, yeah, where they first initially get, sucked into Mortis, at the end they're all literally just passed out. And then that's how they wake up, and then the dreadnought picks them up.
we also hear Qui-Gon's voice in there as well.
Yes. Well, because Qui-Gon shows up on Mortis, and
Yeah.
which is really interesting because when he's sitting there and talking to Kenobi, he says something so important that a lot of people miss, and he's talking about all the force in the universe flows through this spot, which a lot of people believe that the force doesn't go outside the Star Wars galaxy. So that's also really interesting, and that George was right there too. So there's a lot of stuff coming from this specific episode, that arc, that I think probably has so much ramifications of what's going to happen in future stories.
Yeah,
Are you
I
talking
saw.
about,
Hold
are
on,
you
I'm
talking
reading.
are you talking about a multiverse? Is that what I'm hearing coming out of
No,
your mouth? Please
absolutely not.
do
No,
not say
no.
that. Don't do that.
Multiverse, you say?
No. Absolutely not. No. No. This is one universe, guys. We got to chill with that Marvel shit. All right. This is not
Yeah.
Spider-Man.
Yeah, miss me with that.
Dude, it's not
No.
Spider-Man.
No. So, no, I'll humor you. Okay. But in Star Wars, especially source books and legends, there are so many different realms, and there are so many different, I don't want to say universes, there are dimensions, and it's all confined into one specific universe. There's a lot happening, and even outside the Chiss ascendancy, or the Rishi maze, there is so much happening, and I can't even begin to tell you all those things. It's literally like an entire podcast that we have to go over. Maybe we will for Halloween, so I can show you guys all this crazy stuff that's out there, but it also gives you a little bit of breadcrumbs to show you where the future of these stories, I think, is going to go. And Mortis is also attached to that.
That would be fun. Yeah, we should do that for Halloween.
Because
Yeah.
like there are different dimensions inside it. Like what I'm thinking of is like the cave on Dagobah, or like
World
on
Between Worlds.
Octo when Rey goes inside of that like weird dark side hole, and
Yes.
she pops up like all wet. Like something is happening that is not of the like physical realm. So,
Yes.
and
The
obviously
Force is
Mortis,
mysterious.
and there's other stuff, and it's so interesting to me,
Yeah.
like
the
that
Netherworld.
aspect.
Remember those
of it.
like
Yeah.
Force gods from season 6, Lost Mission, when Yoda does his like Force training?
Oh, the
Even
Yeah, those
even
are supposed to be wills.
the wills.
They
Yeah,
were
yeah,
saying,
yeah,
yeah.
even
yeah.
that like is really
Or the
really
priest's
interesting.
wills. I can't remember. The priestess of the will. I can't remember. But yes.
Yeah, there's some cool concepts there, and I feel like we're gonna get some of those here in Ahsoka.
Yeah, there's a
Um,
bunch. I mean, even in the Charles Soule comics, they're showing you the netherworld of the Force, where Anakin's body, or Momin. That's where Momin comes. So there's a lot of like really interesting stuff. But yeah, I mean, I feel like that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more, but it's really just about what's digestible for the movie only fan base. Because I also feel like Mortis or the World Between Worlds was a risk, but it wasn't so groundbreaking that so many people are like, "What it is? This is time traveling." No, it's clearly like in the realm of the Force. I think that's why Anakin was there. I think he's a very important piece, and you get a little bit of taste of what not just Force ghosts can do, but what the Chosen One can do.
the void.
Yeah.
Yeah, the legend.
To me, I equate the like the world between worlds almost as just like a dream world where you're not conscious of
Force
being
Gateway.
inside of there
Yeah.
almost. Kind of similar to what we see in Shadow of the Sith, where Luke is like having a vision almost, and
Hmm.
he's like he's not present on the like when he's himself, he's inside of that vision, but he's somewhere else
Yes.
physically.
Yeah.
So it is like such a weird thing that's hard to understand, especially for like a normie who watches the movies. You're like, what the hell is going on here? Um, so we were talking about some Force users who don't really fit the mold of a Jedi, a Sith, light side, dark side, and we've got some of those in Ahsoka, specifically with Shin and Balin. And you were talking a lot about it on your stream, Dagovere. What do you think they are in terms of a title, or do they go beyond that?
Yeah, I mean, I would honestly classify them as Dark Jedi. That's how I would classify them because when you see Balin Skull talk to Shin, they have morals of Jedi to a certain degree. But Balin is very outspoken about the flaws of the Jedi, but he is not evil towards Ahsoka. He is actually very empathetic, and he's also remorseful of the Jedi Order being destroyed. He even cares at the ideology of Ahsoka being destroyed in that final episode. But when you see Shin and you hear Balin talk, and then you see their orange lightsabers, I think it's really interesting. Potentially, like, did they find these lightsabers, or was this based on their ideology and their connection to the Force that intuned these crystals to be the first orange lightsabers that we've seen in live action? I do think that they're Dark Jedi or a version of a Dark Jedi. And you could even see the way Shin acts a lot. She's very aggressive. She uses Force Choke. That is not a Jedi ability. So I think that is all in this tutorage and mentorship that Balin has teached her and refined her into this Jedi slash warrior, because he even says, no, you were trained in the ways of the Jedi arts. So I would like to see what they call themselves, because we also hear a word that I've never heard in Star Wars before, Boken Jedi, which is like a different type of Jedi, or a strain or branch that isn't from the actual purity of the Jedi Order. So there's a lot of really interesting ideologies specifically based off those two.
Yeah, and I mean, didn't Dave Filoni say in an interview that he purposely made their lightsabers a hint of orange to like signify that they're not like full Sith? I'm pretty
Oh,
sure he said,
interesting.
what's up?
I did not know that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was, let's do some Googling. Um, I'll Google that in a second. Uh, but I'm pretty sure that was intentional from Filoni to like convey that message that they're not full Sith. Um, I agree. They're probably Dark Jedi because the way even Balin like presents himself is still like very Jedi-esque,
Hmm.
if that makes sense. And even Shin asks him like, "Do you miss it?" And he's like, he misses the idea of it, but not
Yes.
the truth.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
and he's looking for the truth as he marches to Mortis, dude. Ah, I can't wait. I
Here's the
can't wait for
quote.
that.
Here's the
Yeah.
quote from Dave Filoni,
Oh, thank
and
you.
this is from CBR. Um, Filoni says, I made their lightsaber blades a little bit more orange. And he's talking to Editor. He's like, that's a really good eye. You're the first person to catch that. That was very intentional. I didn't make them just stark red. I remember as a kid that Vader's lightsaber kind of fluctuated from visual effects to being a little bit more orange. I didn't want to go straight up orange, but it's identifying a little bit of something to kids that they may not be straight up what you think they are in the beginning. It's good to
Mm.
you that they caught that. Nothing is accidental.
See, Filoni cooking.
To
He
me,
was,
to me, that seems like he doesn't want to tell people that they're this new entity. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Oh, Vader's in the 70s was a little bit red or a little bit orange. But I think as a story writer, like he says,
a little ambiguous.
nothing
Ambiguity.
is unintentional, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even in their armor too, like you see, like it's gray and darker black, and there's shades of different stuff, and their lightsabers too almost seem like Balin's and Shin's. It almost seems like Balin's lightsaber is like related, or Shin's lightsaber is a descendant of Balin's lightsaber. It's really interesting the way that they've made those designs.
Yeah, I have some of Balin's quotes up here. What he says, the one that stuck out to me was, "What I seek is the beginning, so I may
Yes.
finally bring this cycle to an end."
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
to me is his mission. He's going beyond the Jedi, beyond the petty Jedi and the Sith and the Empire. I'm going for something bigger. I need to stop whatever this cycle is so that I can find the truth of the Force. And whether or not it is the truth of the Force, I'm actually so curious to know, to figure out how he knows about, like, obviously he's at the statue of the Father. Like, how does
Yeah, how
he
does he know
know?
about that?
What does he know about the Mortis gods or like that other plane
God.
of
Would he break into
existence?
the Jedi archives? Does he get the exclusive issue? Like, yeah, how does he know about about them?
Yeah, but
Uh,
no one else has been to Mortis. Like in my
no.
head, there's not going to
Not
be,
that we
well,
know of.
this, yes, yeah, that we know of. Like, that's something to me is that's not going to be in the Jedi archives. Like, oh, there are these Overlord.
Well, in Rebels, the art of the daughter, the father, and the son is in the archives of the Jedi. Like that art piece that I forget his
That's in
name. That
Ahsoka
weird.
too.
Lothal? That was on Lothal?
Yes, that there was a picture that I forget his name. That like Imperial dude that was talking to the Emperor. When he's interrogating Sabine, he's like, I
Yeah.
found this art piece in the Jedi archives,
Oh
and it
shit.
showed a depiction of the son, the father, and the daughter. So
Okay.
the
So
Jedi
it's
knew about
similar to
him.
the one that's on Lothal, basically. And it's also similar to the grams that Luthen has in his office.
Yes,
Interesting. Okay, so
so
okay,
they know
that's
about
really
him.
interesting. Yes. And then if we also want to know about these things, we know the Emperor has been collecting things for years and years and years. And some of these things are Jedi artifacts, a lot of these things are Sith artifacts. So perhaps he had some of his inquisitors and shadows go out there and retrieve these things that maybe even the Jedi didn't even know about. But even still, I mean, you're talking about the John of the Jedi stuff, in my opinion. And even when you look at the behind the scenes stuff that's on the Ahsoka DVD disc, which I have, they start talking about Pretty and how Pretty is supposed to be this like incredibly ancient planet. Like, and I'm pretty sure when they're talking about the technology that the witches are using, I'm pretty sure that they even said that it predates or is more ancient than the Jedi. So that's something that I think is going to be really interesting because if Dave is all about this, everything is intended, this is not by default, this is not by some mistake, everything is intentional. Okay, then. So maybe you're cooking, because I even when you're talking about Balin and talking about like how he was looking for the beginning or the end of everything, whatever, in that scene, when you listen to that soundtrack, there's also certain sounds cues that are happening as if there's like this ancient monster calling to him or roaring in the background like it's Jurassic Park that's also on there. So, because there is another entity that a lot of people probably won't like that is also affiliated with the son, the daughter, and the father.
Is that
Give it
is
to
that?
us.
Yeah. What do
Abeloth.
you know? What do you know?
Abeloth.
No,
Abeloth.
no,
Abeloth.
no,
Yeah.
You know
no.
things. All
Abeloth,
right.
dude. Abeloth. I think Abeloth gets a really bad rep. And her story wasn't even finished because guess what happened? Disney bought Star Wars. And I understand that Abeloth is extremely omnipotent. Like this is a Marvel character in the Star Wars universe. But I love tragedy in Star Wars. And Abeloth has a very tragic story. But I don't see why you cannot bring a version of this character into the Star Wars universe if she isn't an upgrade. And when Balin is standing on the hand and finger of the father of Mortis, why is the daughter's statue destroyed?
Because she died.
I don't.
Can you explain
Here's
Dagovere who this Abeloth?
Abeloth, yes,
Yeah, can you
yes.
explain for the audience and myself who that
Yeah.
is
So,
specifically?
too long didn't read. Basically, there was a mortal that fell in love with the father and the daughter and son, and she was not an overlord like them. So she was mortal. She was going to die, and so she ends up basically obsessing over love, and because she doesn't want to die and she wants to live with them, she ends up going to the very forbidden parts of Mortis that basically gave her powers. And in this power she was seeking to just literally stay and live, she became an abomination. And it altered her DNA and gave her insane amounts of power to the point where she changed herself and was literally like exploding with power, that the family that she loved literally had to imprison her. And she was that powerful to the point they needed to make a whole space station, alter this like dimension of this whole cluster of planets and several black holes that had to imprison her. And it's supposed to be managed, by the way, by Celestials and everything else, and they are dead because Anakin Skywalker killed them.
Yeah, so she's just breaking out of prison.
No one is there making sure that this person isn't going to blow out of the dark, out of this prison that she's in. And I've also had this crazy theory that the person that was keeping her at bay the entire time was Darth Sidious, because he's powerful as hell. But Darth Sidious is dead now. So who's keeping her at bay?
Yeah, to me, it seems like Balin's purpose is something that he's been almost told or has seen in a vision where something is calling to him, where he has
Which she also does.
fulfill this mission.
The light flicker. Wasn't the light was flickering, right? Like that was like maybe he saw that in a vision.
The light flickers, but also Abeloth is known to lure people in via sirens.
Yeah. Well, he says, I mean, he also, I'm looking at the quote right now. Something calls to me. Can you hear it? Something stirs here. Can't you see it?
Yeah, dude.
There's something that is.
Oh my god! Listen,
cool. So, dude, Balin's such a cool character.
Listen, no, he's so goddamn cool. When this series comes out, we're gonna go back to my 2018 podcasts, and then I'm gonna tell you that I had predicted this. So, okay, that was 2018, and so we'll talk about that then. But right now, it's no one knows anything, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'm locked in to Balin and to Shin,
dude,
and I'm so curious to see what's gonna happen with like them and Ahsoka, like, because you are right, because he's talking in these. He's like, there are so few Jedi left. To be terrible if to kill her would be a shame. Like,
he's got some good in him still, but it seems like he just has like a higher purpose or a higher goal that like is bigger than Jedi or Sith, which is
something is influencing him.
Yes, I think something is influencing him, but it could also, there's other things out there that are I guess you could say on the same realm of Abeloth, like Waru, who's from another dimension. But specifically, like Mortis here is really interesting because the father, son, and the daughter are there. And that to me is really interesting because what if there is something else outside of Abeloth? You know, there could be. Maybe it's a different yeah. Yeah, the Bendu, man. Gosh. I think that's also really but I think the Bendu would meet Ahsoka more than he would Balin. You know, because I think the Bendu is very particular about who he shows himself to.
He would know Ahsoka.
Yes, exactly. And I think they would have history. Yes. And there's also, exactly. That concept art that's out there too with them. So I think that there's a lot specifically that maybe there is an anti-Bendu or something else. You know, I've always liked the idea of byproducts of the Force existing, almost like, this is a different franchise, of course, but almost like the nameless things that are in Lord of the Rings, where the whole world in Middle Earth was created, but then something else emerged that was not of the God's creation. And I think that's really interesting too, especially when you have the Force played into it. What if something existed in Star Wars that was of the fabric of the Force itself? Very similar to Anakin, but an organism or an intelligence or an entity.
Yeah, and if you're Balin and you survive Order 66 and you're lost, and you're trying to cling on to something you don't know anything about, you've lost faith in the Jedi, you are not a Sith, and something calls to you and keeps calling to you and keeps calling to you and then gives you a purpose, you're snatching that up right away and doing whatever you can to get there, which he is doing. He is getting there somehow to Mortis or to wherever he's looking to go. I think he's going to get there.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
yeah. I'm looking at this concept art right now with the Bendu.
Yeah. You see it? Yeah.
And oh yeah, I don't want to trigger you,
No,
Yeah.
dude, I
Dagovere.
just giggle every time I bring up the Bendu, just to rage bait Dagovere. It's so funny.
I just don't like his
I
ideology.
know, I
I
know,
just
I
think
know.
he's
We talked
I just
about
think
this a
he's a
lot.
coward. That's all.
It's just funny to me.
Yeah.
Um,
He's
but we
like
talked before he might make an appearance, so get ready, buddy.
No, he should. He should. I think. Listen, I think that if you're bringing parts of this into Star Wars, there needs to be, there needs to be all of these things. But I think it's really interesting because Bendu's been in the first scripts of Star Wars. Abeloth has not. Mortis is interesting because it's also a product of George Lucas. So there's a lot of ingredients that he's playing with. I just hope that it's executed well. Because if anybody's seen any of the photos that they talked about with the ending of the or the finishing of the filming, they're in front of this weird structure that has no relevance to us, but I think it's going to be really important when we see this series. Maybe it's going to be in the
Structure.
finale. Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's something that they're taking
Oh,
the photos in front of.
yeah.
So, yeah,
Ahsoka and is that Sabine?
Sabine. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think that's interesting too because how does Rebels end with Ahsoka and Sabine? How does Ahsoka start with Ahsoka and Sabine? We've seen the concept art 2 for years now with Ahsoka and Sabine. So, and I think this is probably the final or the ending of what they're probably getting to. I don't know, man. I'm getting a lot of it's going in a different galaxy and realm than what we're going to be used to seeing. Because if Balin is right, if he's is looking for this stuff, then anything that happens with Thrawn is irrelevant to him because what he's seeing is going to have the final say in everything else. So it's a necessary evil or it's a necessary step to get what he wants.
Yeah, he just needed to get to the planet. I mean, he could really probably care less about what Thrawn does.
Yeah.
He just needed to get there in the first place. So,
yeah, well in his mind it doesn't matter who is like the power at play right now because
Yeah.
he wants to destroy them both. He wants to move past the cycle. He keeps talking about the cycle of good and evil or the cycle of the Empire and the Jedi and the Republic. Like he wants to get rid of all of that pettiness, which is why I think there's some sort of higher being that is maybe he's being promised like to become a Mortis god. Like maybe he wants to take the place of the father where there's obviously something he's going to die. So like maybe he has, you know?
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like he's gonna die. That's a good point.
I don't know. I feel like if Ahsoka is going to be this embodiment of Morai, then there is going to be another embodiment of something else. And the seeing them clash so much already in the first season, I don't see him being disposed of so early. I really hope it's not a Snoke thing where you're building this guy up and then he just dies, middle of the series to
Should I
enter
mention?
somebody else. But I like Balin a lot, and I think that his characters should be at the very least, die in a movie.
Yeah, and when I was talking about dying, I was talking about like the father. Like the father is dead.
Mm, yes.
So
Oh, you're speaking
there's
about him being like Lord to the
right, like maybe that's what somebody's whispering in his mind, like, hey, you could be a Mortis entity.
Yeah.
You could become immortal basically and ascend
entity.
into a father. And Anakin didn't do it. So like you can. He knows a lot about Anakin. So
Oh
he knows
yeah.
a lot about Vader. He knows like there may be something in play there where it's like, oh, he didn't have the ideals that I do, so I'm gonna be able to control
Damn.
everything.
That's so crazy. I didn't even think about that because if this mother trucker absolutely knows, I mean, maybe Balin knows that Ahsoka and Anakin were on Mortis. And I feel like the only way he would know that is because if someone else was
Someone
there.
told him.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
And maybe it's
Can't
the
wait.
son that's whispering stuff to
Yeah,
Balin
dude.
and being like, "Yo, come here." And then the son wants to do something, obviously taking advantage of Balin. Like something is happening in Mortis that we don't know, And Balin knows that something is happening and trying to get there, whether or not it's to become a Mortis god, whether or not it's to do whatever. He has a purpose and he is driven to get beyond this realm, and he's gonna do it at some point. And I think Ahsoka is gonna have to be there as well to try to
Yeah,
stop him.
just because of her connection with Morai. Yeah, she's gonna have to pull up. That's
Yeah.
probably how they get back to the. That's probably how they get out of the unknown regions.
Is through Mortis or between
Probably
the world between worlds?
World
Like,
Between Worlds, Mortis. Like probably that's how they get back. If I had to put my finger on it,
So there
or the
are
Purgle.
there. Yes, I think the Purgle is probably the easiest idea because she's already spoken to the Purgle. I don't have a problem with her doing that again. But there are force abilities that can allow her to manifest and appear out the other side of the galaxy. I think of the uh, what are they called? There's a certain specific race that is literally like the first like force monks that even know abilities of this thing called flow walk, which is not necessarily time travel in Star Wars. It alters minor details so you can basically walk in the time flow of Star Wars and just alter like, oh, maybe he wore a red shirt instead of a blue shirt that day, or maybe he waited a second to speak. It's just very small things, and you find out about this later in these Star Wars stories with Darth Caedus and New Jedi Order. But I wonder if they're going to start introducing other species and ideas of Star Wars too, because you have those little crustacean guys that Ezra was hanging out with, and of course you saw the witches, which was really interesting. But you also saw those castles and structures that were on Peridia, which also had Zepho text, which is crazy too, on there with all the fault and hieroglyphics. So I think that's interesting too, because a lot of the font on there is talking about that demon Zepho that was there that basically made them all turn to the dark side and went crazy. And he was like that chaos god. So I don't know. Like, Pretty is very interesting. The idea of them being there is interesting, but I don't think they're going to be stuck there. And if they are, they're probably going to be following Balin, honestly. Yeah.
yeah,
Rose
and
taking over.
yeah, I think that's what's gonna happen. They're gonna have to follow Balin to do something. Like
Yeah.
they realize that he's going somewhere, so yeah, that makes sense. But I'm like super excited now for what this plot could be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just us talking about it. I have to go
Yeah.
rewatch Ahsoka now.
It's so good, man. I love that show. I
I don't
don't I
think I've
don't like the
watched it
first.
since it came out, so I need
Yeah.
to watch it again.
Outside of The Mandalorian and Andor, I have watched Ahsoka the most because of the episodes with Anakin, and I just love them on Peridia. I think it's really fun. A lot of people don't like the way Peridia looks because it's dead, but I think that's the
I
point.
think that's the point. It was
Yeah,
like the
Yeah,
origin. Like, of course, it's going to be dead and
yeah.
destroyed, like mostly.
But also, it's surrounded by the Purgle graveyard.
Yeah,
So there's something calling these things there to die. I think that also could be a part of the whole siren thing that's going on with Balin as well. Yeah, I just think there's a lot of really fun and interesting mystery, and I think that if Dave Filoni executes the story correctly and it has the right production that we want, people will probably be coming back to the series and say that, hey, this was a really good starting point for this.
yeah.
yeah. I hope it's
And I
good.
wish we got something like that for the Acolyte, please. Not to bring it back to the Acolyte, but I just wish that we get a second season.
I don't think that's going to happen, Blood, but I'm excited for Ahsoka season 2. So,
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good spot to wrap it up for this week.
Yeah.
yeah, man. Good stuff, guys. Got
Any
more?
last words? Anything more you guys are excited for coming in the next week in Star Wars? Get any Lego?
I did.
I
Did.
did not purchase the gingerbread AT-AT yet because I'm under the impression I'm getting it for Christmas, so I don't want to buy it and then get it again. I mean, I wouldn't mind to. It'd be kind of cool. I could have a duo of them on my shelf back there, but um, I'm still waiting for some before I pull the trigger on some Lego stuff. Did you get some stuff, Dagovere?
I wasn't able to get the gingerbread Vader because it was sold out. Like
Yeah,
it
it's a
was sold
popular
out,
set.
bro. Yeah, dude. Like I saw people scalping it. So it's like actually kind of crazy. But I did buy it on the Lego store. It's on back order, so when that comes, it'll happen, whatever. But yeah, excited for Star Wars. Lego's awesome. There's a lot of good stuff out there, man. I can't wait. I'm just excited for Ahsoka. I like that show. I know it's not the best. I just really enjoy the potential.
Yeah, I feel like the potential is definitely there. Just from our conversations, there's a lot of cool directions they could go with Mortis, with these World Between Worlds, with all this cool Force stuff. And just talking to you guys has got me more excited for it than I was. So, can
And
we
that's
sim to next year? Sounds good.
yeah, that's the point of doing this. Not only to get people who listen to this excited, but we also get that little jolt of Star Wars dopamine talking about this, at least for me. So,
Right into the veins.
um,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So, if you're still listening to this, may the force be with you. Have a good night.